Thank you very much. My name is Chinaza Solomon Ironsi. I'm from the Department of English Language Teaching, Faculty of Educational Sciences from Near East University. Today I'll be making a paper presentation on the impact of test anxiety on test calls of pre-service teachers here in Northern Cyprus. These are the outlines that we'll be following for the throughout the presentation. We'll talk about introduction, a brief introduction. Then we'll go to the concept of test anxiety. We'll look at the purpose, the aim of the study. We'll look at the methods that we used in carrying out the study. We'll look at the findings and that we got from the study, and then we'll make our conclusions and we'll have a few references. Quickly, if you look at the picture in front of you, it's a picture of a student who has lots of knowledge, lots of information, but very difficult to analyze or to write down or to solve such problems. These are usually the situations of most students during test scenarios, and we believe that these brings or introduces lots of both uh, lots of uh, kind of symptoms that we see when students carry out examinations. Symptoms that cuts across to sweatings. We see students having rapid breathings, stomach ache. Uh, for most times they find it very difficult to think clearly, and they have a rapid, constant heart breathing, and they usually tremble during examinations. And we believe that these could, give rise to low grades or could affect their grades or their academic performance at the end of the evaluation period. Yet a lot has been written with regards to test anxiety. Lots of literatures have emerged. We just suggest that test anxiety it causes fear and trepidation among students, or either during formative or summative assessments. Also, literatures have shown clearly that test anxiety could have impact on students, either affecting the academic performances or psychologically affecting them or affecting the test scores either. There are lots and lots that has been written. Yet there are also literatures which have suggested that test anxiety could boost seriousness among learners. These issues of test anxiety continues to go on and on and on, and the debate is endless. Some other literatures believe that issues of test anxiety it's usually overhyped, or they feel that we're talking about it, students do not want to learn, and so it's just resurfaces in literatures. Yet very very little has been talked about with regards to experimentally proving that test anxiety do affect test scores of students. Some of these literatures are usually very general in describing test anxiety, so we decided to carry out an experiment to experimentally determine if test anxiety affects the test scores of students. That led us to the purpose of the study, the impact of test anxiety on the test scores of pre-service teachers. These were the methods that we used, we adopted for the study. It was a mixed research design. We used to make use of experiments and interviews. The experiment usually was designed to help elicit information from the participants with regards to their feelings, to understand if they experience test anxiety and if it had an impact on their test scores. Actually, we designed a 3 credit unit course, and the students were taught. And afterwards, examinations were conducted. We had two groups. One was an experimental group, and the other one was a control group. The participants were all pre-service teachers who were purposively adopted for this course. They were 42 in number from a university in Northern Cyprus. We conducted At the end of the course, we conducted an examination for the two groups. The first group, we carried out the control group. We allowed them to sit exam on the normal conditions, whereas the experimental group, we induced a kind of an artificial stress to them before they started the examinations. They were asked to make on-the-spot presentations before a panel of jury before the main examinations. It was very funny to see their reactions. This caused fear and uneasiness. Also, there are studies which have suggested that these strategies are very effective means of stress induction while carrying out such studies. For the interviews, we use the Zoom application because of the social distancing rules, and so we use the Zoom application to carry out the interviews. 10 participants were used. We coded them as D1 to D10 for anonymity purposes. It lasted for 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 45 seconds. All the results that we obtained, we are compared and thereafter analyzed. The measuring instrument for these was post-test, pre and post-test interviews. We had a 17-item test, which was designed and administered to the STEM group, the two groups. These questions were carefully planned by experts. We checked to ensure the validity and reliability of these assessments, and also we try to ensure that it has a high internal consistency, to which gives rise to ensures the quality of assessments. Also, we had a kind of a post-test grading system, but free external examinations who adopted a grading criteria. Actually, we graded the assessments from 0 to 100. All these were discussed by all the examiners that were involved. We chose a cutoff of 50 to 100 as a passing grade and a 0 to 45 as a fail grade. And afterwards, at the end of the exam, all the scores were collected and presented in tables. These were the results that we got. Actually, we investigated 2 research questions. We wanted to know the impact of test anxiety on Group A and Group B, so as to know if it had it affected their test scores. Excuse me. So this is research question 1. What is the impact of test anxiety on academic achievements of Group A pre-service teachers? These were all their test scores. A closer look at the table reveals that when an examination was administered, 21 students, we were all 21 students, 21 for first group, 21 for second group. For the first group, 12 out of those 21 participant students, they obtained a passing grade. That's showing that 57.1%, obtain a passing grade. Again, it shows also, the further shows also that 9 out of the 21 students obtained a fail grade. That is 42.8% of the students. This was also the second table for the second group, which was the experimental group. If you take a closer look at the table, it shows that 5 out of 21 students, which represented 23.8% of the students, obtained a passing grade for the assessment, while 16 out of 21 students had a fail grade. It is so clear. We also, afterwards, we administered interviews to them. We have a much bigger explanation and comments from the pre-service teachers on the full paper. So because of this presentation, we just highlighted the interview questions. We asked 3 interview questions. 1, do you feel anxiety during examinations? Most of the participants affirmed to that. Yet some also were of the opinion that they don't feel anxious during the exams. We asked another question, do you think your state of mind affects your performance during examinations? We had also similar responses from the interviewees. Also, we asked another third question, do you think test anxiety affects your grades? Lots and lots of students affirmed to this, except D3 and D10, who thought that, the outcomes of their grades were not affected in any way, were not influenced by the anxiety, the state of the nature, while before carrying out the examinations. Then afterwards, we found out that it was so clear that test anxiety, to a very large extent, affects the academic performance of pre-service teachers. Also, we were able to find out two things: that test anxiety has a role that it plays on the academic achievements of students. Test anxiety affects the academic achievements of students. Yet, secondly, we found out that while test anxiety may be very influential in the test scores of students, it may not be the sole determinant of academic achievements of students. Other possible factors may come to play, and then possibly affect their test scores. It also gives us a much more, a much more concise, rational, and conclusion with regards to the studies on test anxiety. We were able to experimentally explain, and find out that test anxiety to an extent affects the test scores of students while carrying out evaluation processes. And then, in view of this, we do recommend that there is a need for us to begin to rethink, assessment methods. Yet there is need for some, form of assigning of numericals or some grading system. Emphasis should be made for much more anxiety-free, much more evaluation-friendly examinations that will ensure that students are very comfortable while being assessed. Assessment time has come in the past. Assessment is viewed or is presumed to be judgments, but time should come. In recent times, we should begin to look at assessments as a way of contributing to knowledge, rather than a scenario where the teacher is carrying out a judgment on the student. Given this, lots of approaches to assessments, much more friendly approaches like game-based assessments are being recommended. We can use final projects, collaborative assessments. A lot has been written on this. We have safe-graded quizzes. We use this a lot during the emergency remote online teaching. During the outbreak of the pandemic, we can use collective portfolios, reflection-based assessments. Reflection-based assessment plays a vital role. Students can sit down and reflect upon knowledge and reflect upon what has been taught. Thereupon, they can act, reasonably. They can ponder reasonably on what has been taught, and also give, additional knowledge on what they perceive as knowledge, or what has been taught throughout the semester. These are, recent 21st century criteria, 21st century approaches that could be, adopted, in ensuring that the students are effectively measured and evaluated. I think these were all the recommendations. These are the references. We bring you greetings from near East University in Cyprus. Thank you very much.